Welcome to the Hope is Not a Plan podcast, where we address tough questions head on, face our problems, and highlight our hopes by providing actionable planning steps to improve ourselves, mind, body, and spirit. Now, let's get logged in and get locked on to this episode of the Hope is Not a Plan podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Kevin Pennell. I'm host of the Hope is Not a Plan podcast and YouTube channel. And I'm coming to you today. I'm doing some training. I'm here in a conference room, not at home, my studio with my microphone, but I wanted to share and do this 5-Minute Friday as a follow-up to the episode from earlier this week about all the lessons we learned from the amazing men and women, particularly largely men that made the invasion, that jumped in, that went on those amphibious craft in D-Day 80 years ago yesterday, and the value of hope. And while this show is called Hope is Not a Plan, we still have to have that hope that ignites us to do something that we are terrified to do. When the ramp went down on those landing crafts, all those men were terrified, right? But the hope that they could push through the Nazi defenses, that they could break in and free those people and keep pushing through Europe, and they did at terrible costs on behalf of all of us in the free world, kept them going. That hope ignited what they did, and the action that they took transformed the world to a better place. And that's not lost on me. I hope it's not lost on you all. And we should take inspiration from that motivation. It should help us discipline ourselves. It should help us start to get work on our own 7 pillars. I've talked about that a couple times on other podcasts lately. I've shared those. I'll share them again on the website. And how important it is for us to own where we are and where we want to be, to practice some form of mindfulness, right? Getting ourselves right. Think about before that ramp went down, those men must have had to take a breath, look at each other and say, okay, let's go, right? Just focusing on themselves, getting themselves centered. We can do that in a much less stressed environment, and it's extremely helpful to get movement, to keep moving. God, they had to move off that beach, right? Or they were targets. For us, we need to move. Our bodies need to move. It's good for our mind. It's good for our heart. It's good for every component of us. It's critical that we have boundaries, right? So you've got these looming deadlines and you're just working way too long in the day. You need to disconnect a little bit, right? Or you're hanging out with folks that aren't serving you well, that are dragging you down, that are leading you to bad habits. It's okay to have a smaller circle of friends. In fact, it's much easier that way. And, you get quality over quantity, and that's super important. And as you do that, you make connections or remake connections with people that you've known that maybe you lost touch with. And that's incredibly valuable. We as humans are connected people. We're pack animals, as Kim Colgrove said when I talked to her as part of the Well Warrior podcast, episode 6. Check that out on YouTube. And with those connections, when we disconnect at night, we need to focus on our sleep, right? Not staying up flipping channels. And I've lately done that more and more, but disconnect from the electronics, an hour or so before bed, and just, really focus on that and do your best and look into some of the sleep hygiene techniques if you're having problems with that. And have faith. Have some kind of faith in something bigger than you. Doesn't have to be what I believe, what your neighbors believe, but it helps a lot. And, when I pray or others pray, it's a form of mindfulness. It's a form of centering myself, right? And giving my problems up. And sometimes it's super hard because we see so many problems in the world. So on this 5-Minute Friday, give yourself 5 minutes. Think about how your pillars are. Are they crumbling all over? Are some strong? You're exercising, but you're not owning where you need to be, or you are still hanging out with folks. You haven't set those boundaries between you and work. Whatever it is, it's good to give yourself a check, right? It's good to check in. And this week, again, can't thank the veterans of World War II, all veterans really, but those that, my gosh, faced unbelievable, seemingly unsurmountable circumstances. And they did it. And they did it with hope in their hearts and in their minds as they were fearful. And that hope ignited their action that transformed the world. Thank you for helping transform my world by listening to the podcast, watching on YouTube, and just being there and making a difference and knowing that you can make changes and you can do better, and we can all learn from each other collectively. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there, everybody. Wash those hands, and I wish you all Godspeed.